an ambiguous motion. Today's DNVR Nuggets podcast, we're going to be talking about last night's finals, what we learned about Luka Jokic. I feel like we learned something. And also the Boston Celtics. We're also going to talk about roster envy for the Southwest Division. There's a lot of players in that division I like and want to become Nuggets. And then lastly, Doc Rivers said something very interesting about Damian Lillard, and it made me think about criticisms of players. We'll talk about that on today's show. See you on the other side. Oh, start it up, baby. Start it up. What is up, everybody? Welcome to the DNVR show.
Let's go.
Let's go. Live from the Toyota Lounge. We are driven by your Front Range Toyota stores. Toyota, the official vehicle of DNVR. I'm Adam Adams. I got the homies in the house. Brendan Vogt is with me.
Oh, man. What a glorious day. What a glorious occasion where I can finally give credit to the Boston. Can I go home?
Do you feel like you manifested this?
No more so than I manifested last year.
I think we manifested last year.
The energy has to be consistent. If I'm to blame for this year,
I think we collectively did.
but we get a little credit for last year too, right?
100%.
Worth it.
Over here, I've got
I'll be
Harrison
back
Williams.
next year.
Guys, we're less than 2 weeks away from the NBA draft. 2 weeks away, and I am just slaving in the film room.
I love
grinding
that.
tape, finding strengths and weaknesses,
Yeah?
finding NBA comps.
Yeah?
I'm ready to go.
How, on a scale of 1 to 10, how excited, just of the guys that you've researched right now, how excited would you say you are?
20.
Really? I can't take him seriously.
No, I mean, it's a bad draft. It is. It is a bad draft. But I think there are going to be a couple intriguing options that the Nuggets could think about at 28.
Yeah.
There's some interesting role players. You know, when a draft is bad, it's because there's no stars.
Yeah.
But, you know, there's still a couple role guys they could find.
Really interested to see what, who comes out of this draft and what it looks like. Obviously interested to see what Denver does and see, we probably, I'm not going to spoil it, but we probably end the season this weekend.
Yeah.
It maybe spills into next week if a miracle happens. But that's when the rumor mill then picks up. The draft, it's funny how it always turns almost immediately.
Yeah.
Just
the
like,
off
boom.
season starts up.
Finals is over. We're done talking about it. Boom. Off season. Here's the latest rumors and reports. So it does. This is a time of year where it kind of gets exciting, where that page turns and everything else starts in earnest. But
I feel like it's going to be a wild draft too. Like I feel like there's going to be guys projected late first round that get taken in the lottery, vice versa too. Trades, swaps.
What about free agency? The whole piece of it, because it always takes a year or so to adjust to a new CBA,
Yeah.
and I feel like this is the summer where teams are really going to start to. I kind of expect fireworks this offseason.
I feel like it's going to be kind of unpredictable. There are some teams with a ton of cap space. There are some free agents, it seems like, who are expecting to get paid. There are going to be some guys that are, left out of getting the bag. So I just feel like it's going to be unpredictable.
Yeah.
I do agree that we're going to see a bunch of teams try to adapt and react to the new CBA. So, man, it's going to be a fascinating next couple months.
Well, it was a fascinating night in the association last night, not necessarily because the game was great. It wasn't, although it did have its moments. But last night, in the finals in Game 3, must-win game. Porzingis is out. The table is set for Dallas to get back into the series. And they come out, I don't even remember the numbers on this, like 17-6 or 17-9, something like that. Open up great. And by the end of the first quarter, it was 1 point game. And I think Boston had actually taken a lead at some point in the first quarter before coughing it back up. But at that moment, I was like, it's over. Then they blow them out in the third quarter. Just complete masterclass. Dallas gets back into it in a crazy run. I was talking with Legs all about how this series, there's not really been big Dallas Mavericks runs, certainly not sustained ones. They had a huge one, and he thought it would happen. But Luka Jokic had a meltdown, in my opinion. It's my interpretation of the game. A meltdown in the fourth quarter of that game, including his last foul. His last two fouls were both really dumb. But the last one, then he looks at the bench and says something like F and challenge it.
Yeah.
They challenge it. It was obviously...
You and Windhorst both caught that.
We both caught that.
Yeah.
I think everybody on Earth caught it. They zoomed in on him. But honestly, that was my big take. Like, I don't want to take anything away from Boston because I hate to tell you this, Vote. I hate to say it.
I did it already. I confess.
Boston's kind of won me over.
Look, if you could not, if you had to choose between watching these two teams and you didn't see anything on the jerseys front or back, I think the choice is clear. One of these teams is like playing.
They're playing such a very. I'm not going to go as far as call it beautiful basketball, but a very reputable brand of basketball.
It's preferable to what the Mavs are doing.
But I'll tell you what, guys. Luka Doncic was unbelievable in the conference finals. He's kind of sucked in this finals, and last night was I thought a pretty bad look for him. Not just the missing shot. Like, that happens to guys. Good, bad game. I just thought he looked his most petulant.
It almost feels like the Mavs got there a bit ahead of schedule, which all felt really cool for a second. But Luka's still, what, 25? So in the next 3 years, it's not really about him figuring basketball out any more than he has. I think it's about growing up, right, on the floor. And obviously conditioning is a big part of it. I'm sure you guys saw the clip that was going around of him in the bubble. It looks like a completely different player.
Well, he did get them to the finals this time around, but
yeah, he did, man. But I'm talking about what it takes to win the finals. And I thought Luka was out of shape, and but also it's the incessant complaining. It's the incessant complaining that doesn't just make him hard to watch, makes it hard for the Mavs to win. It's not just that he was bad on defense when he was set, which he was, but also he was flopping for calls, not getting them, fighting with the refs even if it was a make, he was fighting with the refs. And his teammates, I thought, were at a numbers disadvantage for much of the game. So I think when Jokic was much younger, there was some of this stuff in his game, maybe, about just like tightening up the wheels of taking the whole operation seriously, not letting your focus drift to the referees, focusing on only the controllables, the stuff the winners do. And, Luka's still young. He can still learn that. But he has to learn that from these finals, because he didn't fall short because of talent or anything like that. He fell short because he fell into some traps of loser stuff from what, as far as the expectations for superstars go.
Yeah.
Well, he's just got to grow up a little bit. And I mean, I feel like some of that's expected. This is his first time this deep in the playoffs, first finals appearance. And yeah, like, some of the stuff is definitely hurting his team. The complaining, not getting back on defense. 2 in a row in the fourth quarter, and when the runs were happening, he had 2 plays where he tried to draw a foul, then didn't stand up. He argued from his ass while they leaked out for fast breaks in the clutch of an elimination game in the finals. Right. And I mean, you just can't do that. You can't do that. And, some of it does seem a little similar to Nikola Jokic and the hills he had to climb years ago now. I mean, this was even kind of pre-bubble stuff for Jokic when he finally got over those mental hurdles and stopped bitching at the officials so much and just really started to level up as a player with his skill set, but also just with his mindset, basketball-wise as well. And maybe it's a similar wake-up call to Luka. I feel like it probably will be. And he's gotten a lot of criticism. But, I mean, it's warranted. You get to the finals, you're going to expose yourself to criticism. That just comes with the territory, man. You get to this level of basketball, like, you got to be open to this kind of thing. So it's just kind of the name of the game, but he's got to be better for sure.
He is young. Like, a lot of guys that are of this caliber, right? What's the age? 27, 28? That's usually the cutoff of when this stuff really starts to happen, the winning titles. And he is still young, but that's it. Those are the lessons he needs to learn, because it's not really between now and 28 that he'll get so much better at basketball, because he's real damn good already, is my point there. But he does have to grow up, and he has to understand why he wasn't good enough in this series. And, the one benefit to the noise being so loud, it's pretty hard to miss. He already did an interview to apologize. So I think he's heard it, and now it's how does he internalize it?
And that's exactly it, man. The romantic ideal for me of sports is that to win at the highest level, every level you go exposes a new part of your soul. And if there are flaws in that, you might not even know about them until you reach a certain level. And then it's like, oh my God, there was a layer I didn't even dig deep enough to find in myself. And it's not always like that, unfortunately. Kevin Durant did win 2 titles. I don't know if he ever really peeled all the layers of that onion down. But in this instance, I do feel like that's exactly what it is. And then I have another romantic ideal of sports, and that is, it's not always linear. We always hear that expression. But I also think that there's this idea of you win it, and then you're a completed project. And I think this is what the Nuggets learned and what we learned as Nuggets fans this year. Nuggets win in 2023. Yes, they lose Bruce Brown. There's a piece of here or there. But then you go like, oh, they are champions now, therefore that will continue. And I actually think Denver this year, it was almost like they're going to have to relearn some lessons that they have learned. And that's the thing about sports as well. So when I combine these two things together, Luka clearly he's a great player. Even at the level he's at now as a top 5 player in the NBA, some people will say number 1. But he has lessons to learn. And then on top of that, Denver, who climbed the mountain already, they also have lessons to relearn. And that's just sports. That's how it goes. You have to relearn every single year.
Yeah. Like you said, as the unquestioned, official, bulletproof best player in the NBA.
Correct.
Luka Doncic. That's what he is. It's been established. There's been articles written. There's been segments done. There's been arguments for it. He is the official best player in the NBA. We know that. He's got to be better.
You tweeted it today, and half the people didn't get the bit.
I know.
They're like really mad at you.
I
Like,
know.
how could you say this?
Yeah. Like, oh, Nuggets writers turning on Nikola Jokic.
I know. You got to be less subtle, man. You got to come. People really got to think that you turned on him. Yeah. You're like, I don't care. Yeah, that is the thing about it. And honestly, Luka, there's a lot of conversation this year about how good a shape were some of Denver's players in and this or that. Like Luka, it is another level to him. He's great enough that he can get by at an even higher level, but it was clear even last night. And look, he's a little hurt.
Do you think it's because he's out of shape, though?
It's not out of shape. Here's the thing about shape. He's in 99.9th percentile shape of humans.
Yeah.
When you talk about could being in better shape than he is help him, the answer is yes. And that's the point. Steph Curry, there are a lot of players who are in very good shape. Steph Curry is in better shape than all of them. And that's part of why he has an advantage running around the court and all these different things. So I think with Luka, that's how I would put it. Is he out of shape to compete? They're in the finals. He's unbelievable. But there is, this is what I mean about the levels, the onion. There is this part of you where it's like, yeah, but there's something else. And are you able to guard for 48 minutes on an island?
Are you the best version of yourself?
Yeah.
And I think Luka is rightfully in conversations with currently the best player alive. And he's going to be in a lot of conversations historically too. But then the bar does become, are you the very best version of yourself? And the very best players of all time, I think the answer is yes. Even Jokic had to get in shape. Larry Bird had the point in his career where he was like, hey, I'm probably drinking too much beer. There is a threshold, even if you're that talented.
Yeah. And by the way, we've been talking about shape a lot, and I've been talking about this with Legs a lot lately, just because he, played in the league. And by the way, if you don't know, Legs, phenomenal shape.
Tim Legler. Also, if you don't know.
Oh, yeah, sorry. This is my guy, so I don't know.
Yeah, your friend.
Nickname basis over here.
Tim Legler.
You guys talk every day for an hour.
Played in the NBA. So but he's in phenomenal shape, and I've asked him this even on record, even today, about what's it like with in the league. Are there organizations that take conditioning more serious than others? Are there players, blah, blah, blah? He always laughs it off like, are you kidding me? Yes. The spectrum is so wide between guys who are putting in an insane amount of work in their bodies, this, that, and guys who rely on their natural talents and just don't take it seriously. That is the full spectrum, and that's why I think it's such a big story.
And it's going to be up to Luka because I don't know how the Mavs organization operates, but my feeling is that they probably just let Luka do whatever he wants.
Yeah.
I doubt there's a real cracking of the whip about getting Luka in shape and in the gym and getting his conditioning up. It's going to be up to him because, as a lot of franchises do, they just let their franchise guy operate how he wants to.
In today's NBA especially, and you know what? Franchises have to establish what they are. Yep. Whenever you get new leadership, whether it's ownership, new front office, new coach, whatever, you have to establish what you are because I don't think you can change what you are. Like Pat Riley, guess what? He can go tell a guy you're overweight, 5 pounds.
Got to pass the conditioning test.
But there are guys that can't. And it's like, hey, man, you've got to establish that if you want that cachet.
And then the focus on the refs thing. It's not just annoying to watch. It's an active detriment to playing impactful, winning basketball. And it's for a long time when we had those conversations, how could Jokic get better? And I thought it was stuff like that. And he did. And there was a time in Jokic's career where regardless of you feel of how good the officiating is or isn't, there was a time where your best strategy of guarding Jokic was hack him a few times, see if he gets into a game with the refs instead of us. And I mean, Luka, you don't even have to bait him into that. He like wakes up in that mind space. And there is like, no matter how good you are in the NBA Finals, get back on defense, man. Like that is something. I'm sure it's a joy to play with Luka when you're all winning and these insane passes are hitting you in the quarter and stuff. I'm sure there were a few teammates who were sitting there on the bench thinking like, hey man, like, let's go.
Yeah.
This is not January against the Pistons.
Right.
This is not make a point to the officiating crew time. Like, be the guy. And look, he's young, but I do think that's what was missing.
Sports are so funny, though, because you really can climb to the one step below the mountaintop and then lose. And it's like, he sucks. You know what I mean? Like, Luka could have lost the first round or so. They'd have been like, man, the team was good, but just not quite good enough.
That's why I think the main story of the finals isn't Luka. It's how good the Celtics are.
100%.
Because they're a beast of a team.
They're really
They
good.
look incredible,
They're amazing.
and they honestly look poised to be the best team next year as well, based on what they have. I mean, that's what happened. Denver was that this year. They squandered that opportunity. I don't know that they maximized that opportunity in themselves. But the Celtics, now you look at them and you go, yeah, that looks sustainable. They didn't even have Kristaps Porzingis for this almost all of this run. And they're going to sweep the finals, win 80 games while only losing 20. That's insane.
Is Drew Holiday the best quote-unquote role player you could have in an NBA Finals? Because he's up there.
I mean,
the other one's Derek White. So
honestly, here's the thing, man. The Celtics remind you a lot of the Nuggets. And we talked a lot about a couple weeks ago about can you have such an expensive starting five? Well, the Celtics do, and they look incredible. You know, and so bought in, motivated, all that stuff. They just look like pieces that fit really well. Denver looks like pieces that fit really well. We're 2 years into it now, and we haven't seen that matchup, and it's kind of a bummer. I really hope we get it next year.
Should have seen it last year.
But I mean, I hope we see it next year. There is sometimes we do get that where you miss each other and then you meet up, and I just look at it and I go, these two teams have clearly been the two best over the last two seasons,
Yeah.
and they haven't matched up yet.
They owe us a finals. They took turns letting each other off the hook. Denver should not have had to go through the Miami Heat. That was way too easy for a team like Denver, and that was Boston's fault. Honest to goodness, I feel the same way about Dallas. Like, we talked about how good the West was all year, and how is that the team representing this conference? I think it's Denver's fault, man. And so now Boston would be in the same disadvantage as Denver was this year if we're keeping the same energy. They went longer, right? So maybe they'll be tired. But I'd love for next year to be the rubber match. I'd love for those two. Parity has been fun, except the finals haven't been great. And I feel like these two teams owe us a great matchup next year.
Yeah, I agree. All right, let's take a break. On the other side, we're going to get into some roster envy, including one team that I think leads the entire NBA in guys that make me envious personally. And they're not even that good of a team.
Toyota is the official vehicle of DNVR. Trucks have always been a part of Toyota's DNA for generations. Toyota has built durable legends destined for greatness and perfect for Colorado. No matter what car you're in the market for, Toyota has an option for you. If you're looking for all-wheel drive, four-wheel drive SUVs, they got the 4Runner. They've also brought back the iconic 2024 Land Cruiser.
Both of those cars are iconic, man, to me.
Also, the all-new 2024 Tacoma.
Oh, another iconic one.
They also offer 16 different hybrid vehicles to choose from, like the Tundra iForce Max hybrid truck.
Dude, I'll tell you, this is my most dad story. I'm on a dad TikTok where it's these mechanics. They work at a shop, and they'll just bring them in a car and say, this car, what do you rate it? 1 to 10. The Tacoma came up, all the mechanics, 10.
I just love it. They just rate cars 1 through 10.
Yeah, that's their
great.
it's a good bit, it's a good
great.
TikTok for mechanic shop.
That's great. I'd rate this Rita 8.
That's pretty good, I think.
Visit your Front Range Toyota stores at a location near you. AutoNation Toyota, Arapahoe in Centennial, Corwin Toyota in Boulder, Groove Toyota in Littleton, Mountain States Toyota in Denver, Stevenson Toyota East in Aurora, Stevenson Toyota West in Lakewood. Toyota is a proud partner of the Denver Nuggets. It's the official vehicle of DNVR. Toyota also currently offers more low and zero emission vehicles combined than any other automaker. 16 different hybrid vehicles to choose from. Check them out.
Circa Resort and Casino. Talk about legendary. Talk about iconic.
We'll be there very soon.
How about the
1
iconic
month.
Stadium Swim?
Oh, I'll be right in that pool.
Man, I'll tell you more about Stadium Swim in a second. For now, I want you to make sure you know what Circa Resort and Casino is. You should. It's our oasis in the desert. It's our headquarters away from our headquarters. It's your new go-to place to stay when you're in Las Vegas.
Jumping into a nice pool when it's so hot out, that's a vibe.
It's as good as it gets. Depending on which pool, where you're at, maybe you're not supposed to jump. That's all right. Work it out with the lifeguards. Just go.
Are you not supposed to jump into the pool?
I actually don't know. Vegas' first ever adults-only casino resort with the world's largest sports book, with a big old casino, and of course, Stadium Swim, a 4,000-person capacity pool with a 143 by 40-foot LED screen. It's open 365 days a year. There are 6 pools, 2 spas. Added all together, that's 15,000 square feet of wet space, Adam. Plus, there are cabanas you can rent, super cabanas. They hold up to 50 guests.
It's the most wet space I've ever seen.
And there are over 500
most
rooms
wet
with
space in Vegas.
with a variety of players,
Which
fitting your
is
needs.
saying something.
Experience Stadium Swim and watch your favorite teams at Circa Resort and Casino. Here's the important part.
Wet
Book your
space.
stay with code DNVR20. Make sure you get 20% off.
Man, you guys should come out for Summer League with us.
Enjoy the wet space.
Just please stop. There you go. All right. Back here at the DNVR Nuggets Podcast. By the way, you just said it. We're less than 2 weeks away from the draft. On Wednesday of the draft, the 26th, we will be hosting a party right here at the DNVR bar. You can sign up right now on our events page at thednvr.com. Our show will be streaming it live from these couches, but it will be playing on the televisions and speakers downstairs, so you can come listen to us. You might be able to get on the show. We're going to be doing fun stuff throughout the night, and we'll find out who our next Nugget is. Who knows? Maybe there's a crazy trade that happens.
Who knows?
You
You never know.
You'll get here. Here's how it works. You get here. Everybody here's going to be Nuggets fans. You talk about, hey, who are you hoping they pick? It becomes a fun
You can
communal
also
thing.
laugh at all the teams picking in the lottery.
That's right. Terrible year to be in the lottery.
Remember when you were just the team that had never moved up in the lottery?
Oh, God.
Come a long way.
That's so true.
Come a long way.
Let's get into some roster envy, shall we?
Let's do it.
We are going through, and again, just to remind you, if you missed yesterday's show, this is not about, rather than just do trades, I think that the Nuggets in the next year will likely be making trades, and you never know if it'll be a small or big trade. Things could happen that would next year lead the team to thinking they need a major pivot. So I thought, rather than just do trades for right now, let's talk about guys we like to plant the seed for now and down the road. And we're going to start with the New Orleans Pelicans.
The Pelicans.
Go ahead and pull it up here, Tiff, if you don't mind. The Pelicans roster. I'm just going to say it. I wouldn't mind Zion Williamson.
Really? I don't know.
I'm good, actually.
I'm kind of good on that
100% good.
Well, this is why I wanted to bring him up. Zion's really you're right. We're struggling with
There's some of
Murray
the
and
stuff
Shea.
you're upset with, man.
Yeah,
Like, we're not going to
Luka
get
not
good
quite in
here.
good enough shape.
He's
About
not gonna
330
be great.
pounds. Here's my only point. Zion and Jokic would be a pretty crazy duo, man. That would be a pretty unstoppable. Physically, you could never match up with both guys. And I just feel like the game would get reduced to, you can't guard those two guys, then they'll win every single time. But you guys don't like Zion.
No, I don't.
Nope.
He's kind of a
good.
loser.
I don't really want to go to battle with Zion.
He's
Let's
also costly. He would cost the other guys you have gone to battle with.
Yeah.
Well, I'm just saying that this isn't a theoretical.
No,
like
I'm just saying.
Yeah.
I don't love it. I don't love it.
I think that's really interesting. I think you guys are ultimately right. That is such a
Wow.
gamble.
Thought for sure you were going to
I
say
know.
ultimately wrong.
Yeah, can we clip that, Tiff? Clip that, send it out.
Wow.
That being said, I will say this about Zion, and we're going to talk about it a little bit later on. You know what worked for him this year? Getting publicly shamed.
Yeah.
He goes to the bubble, or he goes to the in-season tournament. Rumor is that he's out all night in Vegas, whatever. Shows up 300 pounds all season long, including that point. Shamed. And what happens to him? He drops like 40 pounds during the season, becomes incredible, and then gets hurt because when you get in shape during the season, you get hurt. But I do wonder if he learned his lesson, TBD. Let's get into the realistic ones. Herb Jones.
Yes.
Herb Jones is the best Peyton Watson, right? I mean, that's what we're hoping Peyton Watson becomes. A complete shutdown defensive player who's versatile, does a bunch of different things. And then offensively, he's not a zero.
Right. I think P. Watt's got a little higher ceiling than Herb Jones offensively. But yeah, realistically speaking, if P. Watt develops into Herb Jones, that's a home run. That's a huge hit.
And if you ever get to a point of let's say an Aaron Gordon replacement, he's a guy that maybe becomes, you play a little smaller and switchier or rangier and skinnier or whatever, but he's a guy that maybe fills a similar niche. Like he guards such a variety of players.
Oh, yeah.
One thing Denver doesn't have right now, and perhaps they're supposed to, but as things stand, it doesn't feel like they have a ton of lineup versatility.
Yeah.
As well as the five goes together. And Herb Jones is just a tweener in the best way of like he can bridge some of his skill sets to fit different holes, I think. Like he's a guy that adds to your versatility. I feel similarly about Trey Murphy as well. I would like Trey Murphy in Denver.
Oh, yeah.
Well, Trey Murphy was next on my list. He's actually, you guys know, a graduate of My Guys Academy.
Oh, we know.
I saw that guy at Summer League. I fell in love immediately. Trey Murphy, to me, is the offensive version of Herb Jones.
Yeah.
Like, he's just an incredibly versatile, great shooter.
They even look the same.
They kind of do. Like, look, man, I actually think this is why they're my number one team of roster envy. He's a guy that I would love. Would be a total Jokic player. Moves off
Amazing
ball well.
shooter.
Doesn't take bad shots. Can defend with the length. He's not a great defender, but can play it. But to be honest with you, he's a cornerstone piece of there. So you're not getting him for. You're trading a starter to get him.
Yeah, that's true.
If he were ever to even be available. All right.
I will nominate somebody here that's a little more realistic. Larry Nance Jr.
See, I didn't have him on my list, but this is interesting.
Bench.
He's like, so this would have to be like maybe a year or two down the line.
Yeah, he's an
Because, like-
8th, 9th man.
Yeah. Because I'm pretty sure he makes like really good money.
He's gettable in a trade.
He's gettable in a trade. Okay, there you go. Let's keep going down the list here because we're only halfway through it. Now the more realistic ones. This is a wild one. I actually really liked Jordan Hawkins, what we saw of him.
I don't think that's wild at all.
He didn't play a ton of minutes, but when you talk about, okay, the Nuggets need a point guard, he's not really a point guard. He's more of an off-ball guard,
Yeah.
but you know what? Maybe there's a way to make this work. Incredible shooter, man. That guy, unbelievable quick trigger, makes it every time.
Does he wear a T-shirt too under his jersey?
Wears a T-shirt under his jersey.
I'm in.
Dude,
I don't know why, but that does it.
he's a little bit of a leftover piece there. They're at an interesting, think about where the Pelicans are. They have to get over the hump next year. They have to. They've been in this same phase, it feels like, for 4 years, and they probably make a trade this summer, to be honest with you. I think Brandon Ingram's out the door.
That's what it seems
But
like.
even let's say you do that, and then you have the same season next year. You make it to the playoffs, you're out. You make it to the play-in, get to the playoffs, then you're out, which is what I would project. They might be a team that's looking at it and it's like, we love Jordan Hawkins, but we have to win now. We have to.
Right.
So he's a player to me that I definitely took note of. Might be a My Guys candidate next year.
They've got so many of these young dudes who you just love.
Yep.
You can even throw Dyson Daniels into that
Oh,
mix.
he's on my list.
Herb Jones, Trey Murphy, Hawkins, like you said, Matt Ryan. I'm just kidding.
No, he's on my list. He's on my list, but keep going. Keep going. He's on my list.
We know that you just can't carry all these guys forever.
Yeah.
There comes an expiration date when you're building with all these young dudes. Eventually, you got to make some tough decisions, and those tough decisions probably are coming next season for them.
So Dyson Daniels, to me, is the point guard version of Christian Brown. He's an unbelievable on-ball defender.
Yeah.
Some in New Orleans think he's as good or better than Herb Jones, in terms of just guarding a guy. That's how high they are on his defense. He's really good at it, and he has great length. Offensively, he's a little robust. Like, he can handle, he can pass and stuff, but I don't think he'll ever be a good scorer.
Right.
He's that robust. But I look at that, and so it's not a perfect fit if you're doing the hockey rotations. Can you play him with all bench guys? But I do look at him and go, man, a lockdown on-ball point guard? Yeah, Denver could use that. Has great length from the point guard spot. That fits. He's a guy that's definitely also, again, I don't think they're looking to trade him, but something happens down the road, I think that is a guy that you could say would be a good fit.
Well, it definitely feels like he's a tier below Trey Murphy and Herb Jones. Like, if you had to slot other young guys,
Yeah.
it feels like you got Murphy and Jones, and then the next tier.
Yeah, but there's money there. Those guys are paid,
Totally.
Dyson Daniels got 3 more years before you got to pay him.
But I mean, this is total hypothetical segment. So this is just hypothetical tiers. Like, those two guys, then it feels like there's a clear drop off. You got Daniels and then probably Hawkins below that.
Yeah.
What about Jose Alvarado?
He's a good player, man. He makes winning plays. He's a great change of pace guy to have off the bench. I don't think he's a guy who you want to be relying on in the finals, in the conference finals, in the playoffs necessarily. But regular season, I love the change of pace he can bring to a team. I love it.
On the other, just to play devil's advocate, there will be nights where I think some fans will think we're back to another small guard, huh?
Yeah.
Because he is still a small guard, as much as he is a gamer and a dog and all these things. you can't change that part. Can't change that part.
He's got the $2 million team option for next year, but then becomes an expiring guy. The last guy I have on here, you laugh it off. I can't believe it. Matt Ryan. First of all, he's been here, summer league guy, cheap guy. He's gonna be end of bench guy.
He's played on every other team in the league.
I'll tell you what he is: lights out shooter, very smart, knows exactly how to play off ball, unselfish, a lover of Jokic and the Denver Nuggets.
This is the part.
No, I'm telling you, if you have to fill out your roster, again, we don't think Nuggets are going to make huge moves this offseason. Tell me Matt Ryan is not a guy that, I don't know, he could shoot, man.
Probably not a guy.
He's probably not.
Probably not a guy.
But I thought you would actually be a Matt Ryan guy because I remember you being high on him.
I am a Matt Ryan guy. I like him. I also like him a lot because he's tall. He's 6'7".
Yeah.
But, I'm just trying to be realistic.
He plays for 3 different teams a year.
Yeah, I don't think he's a guy right now. Can I talk myself into him as a 10th man, a 12th man? Sure, but I don't think he's a rotation guy. I don't think he is.
Let's move on now to. Is there anybody else here? Is there anybody else on this roster?
You want to do 5 minutes on Zeller?
No, we don't have to do 5 minutes. We can go to the Spurs. Guys, I can't believe it. It's my shortest list that I made. There's one player I love. Victor Wembanyama.
I'm stunned.
Jokic and Wemby is gonna win. They would win a lot.
Yeah,
that's a good pairing.
Probably every game.
Probably every single game. What would a Jokic Wemby duo? Honestly, that does feel like you would never lose.
Insane, man.
That
It'd
really,
be insane.
That actually is one of those combos that might never lose. We say that all the time, but
they're 82-0. Just
even in the games when Jokic was objectively kicking Wemby's ass, you could still see the way that, a guy who we always say, you never speed him up or slow him down. He plays the way he wants to play. There was a lot of him actually changing his speed and his angles, all because of, this alien might block this. And I don't know if I've actually ever seen one guy, not the team defense, but one guy make Jokic kind of think as much as he did in those opening.
I'm pretty sure he's the best defender in the NBA.
I think he is too.
He probably should have won Defensive Player of the Year.
He should not have won it, but he will
probably
next year. Who is there anybody else? Wind, I'm curious who you got here because there's a couple guys that I thought about. Chetty Osmond, but I don't know.
Yeah. I like Vassell. Curious that he's not on the grass. Oh, there he is. No, Devin Vassell. Yeah, always been. He's
also
guy.
making $28 million. He's you're trading a star for him, so that's why he's not on my list.
Yeah, Sohan, interesting, but probably not a guy who would ever be in the cards for the Nuggets. Other than that, I'm not really intrigued by anybody else on the Spurs.
I was intrigued by Blake Wesley in the draft. Doesn't really do anything. Doesn't play there. He might suck. So
Mamu. I'll take Mamu for nothing.
Yeah, that's right. He did murder us today.
He sure did.
That's so.
Proud to Seton Hall, by the way. Go Pirates.
Let's take a break. On the other side, we'll wrap up the other 3 in the division, including Memphis, Houston, and Dallas.
Underdog Fantasy. Underdog Fantasy, the easiest place to play fantasy sports. Their Pick 8 is now live for the NBA Finals. Create entries with up to 8 picks, and Underdog will automatically double flex entries so you can miss up to 2 picks and you still win your entry. With more picks to make and extra ways to win, the excitement is higher than ever. The best part about this Pick 8 from Underdog Fantasy, you can win up to 325 times your original amount. So make sure to download the Underdog Fantasy app. You can use that QR code right there on the screen. Use code DNVR when you sign up, and you can get hooked up with a special pick plus first-time deposit offer up to $250 in bonus cash. That's when you download the Underdog Fantasy app. Use code DNVR. There's a QR code right there on the screen that you can use. There's a link in our description as well. Must be 18 plus and present in a state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. Concerned with your play, call 1-800-522-4700. Visit ncpgambling.org.
You can take some winnings with you to Illegal Pete's. This episode is brought to you in part by Illegal Pete's. Illegal Pete's, a lot of options to go and enjoy it in Denver, Colorado Springs. Now you too have a friend in the burrito business. You could even say you've got a buddy in the burrito business, because Illegal Pete's Colorado Springs is open, baby. Swing by and join the festivities. They've got live music endless margs, and of course, all your favorite burrito fixins. It's located in the heart of downtown Colorado Springs. Stop by to be a part of this historical Illegal Pete's moment. Patio season is here, and that's really the first thing I think when I think of Illegal Pete's. Outside in the Colorado summer with a beer, a buddy or two, and a burrito. What a treat, fellas.
What a treat, man. What a treat indeed. You really paint a nice picture for us.
I could really go for some Illegal Pete's right now.
Every read, I talk myself into it. Every time.
Reverse nachos. Ooh.
That's
little queso on there.
That's the move. That's the move.
Oh, man.
What do we have next, Tiff? Where do you want to go? A little roster envy. All right. Another team that I actually have a lot of roster envy of somehow. I love all the bad teams, guys. I don't know what to tell you. I'm going to start at my number one roster MVP.
Jock Landfill.
Who would you guess it is, actually? Now that I say that, without looking, who would you guess it is?
No, I need to look.
Yeah, I need to see.
You don't know their roster off the top of your head. This is a roster I'm very infatuated with because they have a lot of young guys.
Know their roster.
So they have a lot.
I think you're gonna like someone like Jay Sean Tate way too much.
Well, I do love Jay Sean Tate. But
I think I know who it is.
Who is it?
I believe it is Tari Eason.
No, he's up there though.
That's
D-Line's
That's
guy.
D-Line's,
Eamon
yeah.
Thompson.
No, well, I do love him. He's number 2. I love Jabari, man.
Oh, really?
I think he is a really, really good. Again, he's like
interesting.
To me, like Trey Murphy in a lot of ways. Very good shooter, very unselfish, just a team guy. I think he reads the court pretty well for his age and will be a guy that projects to me to be like an elite off-ball shooter. Incredible length, works hard on defense. To me, he is another of this mold of like, okay, he's not your star. He's not your number 2.
Yeah.
Then you need high-level starters around him that do a bunch of stuff. He's all of those things, man.
You could see him in
like
the
his game.
MPJ role. You could see him in the MPJ
They're
role.
like the kind of similar players. MPJ is more definitely like wired to shoot, where Jabari almost needs encouraged at times, I think, to shoot. But I love his game, man. And no back surgeries. And again, that's not his fault. I'm just saying it's like a healthy version of
it is a check in the box for sure.
I think Tari Eason is the perfect type of player the Nuggets need right now. Just a garbage man. Just a guy who's going to do the dirty work.
Totally.
He's like the opposite of Zeke Naji.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like offensive rebounds up for grabs, Tari Eason's going to get that ball. He's going to get every 50-50 ball. When there's a 50-50 ball out there, it's like a 90-10 ball for Tari Eason. Hard worker, plays ridiculously hard, 100% all the time.
He almost like doesn't know how to not play 100%.
Right. He's flying around out there. So I love Tari Eason.
Me
And
too.
just to acknowledge it for the chat, obviously we all like Thompson. That's less of a realistic.
No, Amen Thompson?
Yeah, do you think there's a
I mean, again, this isn't for right now in the summer. Again, this is like...
Yeah, man, I'm just saying tiering, like...
I think...
This is the same logic we applied to yesterday.
I think yes, because they have so many young players that one of their young players is for sure getting traded, and likely 2 or 3 of them are in the next year and a half or so. They just have too many young guys that they're going to have to pick.
Sure.
3 or 4 of them, and
well, then in that wide open of a hypothetical, of course I like him. Of course I like him.
yeah, Amen Thompson to me would be great. It would be frustrating because he is another one. Both of the Thompson twins, man, they're so rough and like.
Yeah, they're like significantly worse than Christian Brown or Peyton Watson
on offense. But I think significantly better, honestly, defensively. He's pretty impressive, man.
You think? I think it's not. If you think about just specifically the way that Aaron Gordon came to Denver and learned how to tailor his strengths and weaknesses to playing alongside Jokic, like these guys are really smart and do a lot of the other stuff. And even though both of them, even though they're not really shooters, you figure it out alongside Jokic. That's what smart players do, and Aaron Gordon sure did. So
you know who is really, really dope, but probably crazy?
Who's up?
Cam Whitmore.
Yeah.
He is really good, man.
Yeah.
He's like a guy that is so talented, but there's a bunch of like red flags around him and this or that. But he's a guy that when I watch him play, I'm like, that guy is a freaking... He has star potential in him. He's a super athlete. He's got a good handle, good shot. He's got these tools in his tool belt, but he also has... He's one of those guys that doesn't know... He's like Jalen Green. He doesn't know what he doesn't know.
Right.
And those are the toughest guys to project.
I just am so curious about the direction the Rockets are going to be heading because, there's even been some faint talk about, are they a potential Trae Young team? Like, are they a team that wants to get a Mitchell or a Garland in on that this summer? And they've still got, Dylan Brooks, Fred VanVleet as the caretakers of this team kind of right now. Do they still keep all these young guys there? The direction that they could go is interesting.
Are you saying that they're a team that might be looking for, a star player, maybe even a KCP? Like this is a team that in theory you could trade some of your best players now and get, again, some of these young players. Because that's why I say that I think I could see this. I could totally see them within the next 370 days trading a bunch of their young guys for guys that are already in their prime.
Yeah.
And then Steven Adams also just a guy we talked about as well. Question mark, but if you're in the backup, you are in the question mark backup center game right now.
Oh, if you're in the backup center game, it's just a question mark no matter what.
Right.
It's
And
a big
so
question mark.
You are taking minimum flyers. Maybe Steven Adams is one.
He's the perfect Nugget, honestly, in terms of personality. Him and Yoke getting to play together would just be like
contract?
the number one greatest thing. I think he has one more year, I believe.
I'm going to check it right
He's gettable.
One more guy's not even on the chart. Oh, he is on the chart there. What about Boban? Is there a world where he is in the DeAndre role, plays like 20 games, but really he's just there to be the guy?
I mean, that might be about his max. That might be even pushing it. 20 games.
Yeah, that's for sure it's pushing it.
That's pushing it.
But look, or Vlatko Čančar role. I mean, like, is there a world where it's like, all right, we got this guy on the end of the bench. He doesn't really play, but
Sure. I mean, he's got to probably hate his life on the Rockets. I don't know who he's hanging out with. It's not Jalen Green. I'll tell you that.
So what
It's
if
not Cam Whitmore.
All right, tell me this though. What if that was who Denver added this offseason? Him on a minimum, Boban. But the plan was, but then they draft, say, De'Ron Holmes. So it's like, all right, that's your backup center. And Boban's there in case you need him. We got a Boban.
Yeah, it's something I could see happening, an idea kind of like that, because if you just look at the available backup centers out there, not many good options on a minimum contract, guys. So, yeah, why wouldn't you just get a Boban who is going to be good for the chemistry, good for the locker room? Low risk, very low reward as well, but very low risk.
But is Boban beneath this threshold of like
he might even be less playable than DeAndre
That's what I was
Jordan.
gonna say.
I think he is.
I think
he might not play
You know
less
what, though?
playable.
Here's the thing about Boban. Boban is the ultimate knuckleball in that if he's coming, it's like, oh, we're going to kill this team. But when he checks in the third quarter and you're like, God damn it.
It takes like a couple possessions for everybody to realize what's going on.
Sometimes it's all you need.
Then you got to
need
get him off the floor.
4 minutes, and all of a sudden they burn 2 timeouts because
but
they're like, all right, we got to sub it in.
Part of our goal for some folks is to get out of the backup center. Only plays 5 minutes every now and then, and also he's just a straight up unrestricted free agent, right? So he's not even really.
Yeah. I know. Where's roster envy?
No. I'm just thinking out loud.
Oh yeah,
for
you
myself.
could sign him to a minimum.
Yeah.
I just wonder.
Is there anything that's less than a minimum?
Here's the thing. One thing I think about a lot. I do worry about Yoke's vibes.
Yeah.
I worry about that. This year did not seem like it was the most fun year he's ever had.
Well, it's interesting, man, because I hit up some people about, what are the Nuggets going to do at the trade deadline? Would they deal a Vlatko Čančar? Because obviously he was going to be out the whole season. You could free up a roster spot, or could you just waive Vlatko? And, people with the Nuggets were like, we don't want to break up Yoke's inner circle like that in a season where we can potentially win a championship. We don't want to rock the boat, rock the locker room like that at all. So I definitely think it's something that the Nuggets are think about.
I just want Yoke happy, and Boban seems to make him happy.
I agree.
So either Luka or Boban, go get one of them. Let's go. Is there any other players, guys? I think that might probably it. Oh wait, Jayshawn Tate. I'm sorry, we talked about him already the other day. I'm not even kidding when I say I like Jayshawn Tate. He'd be an example. The only worry
this
I have
is the 5 minutes on Jayshawn Tate that we do every summer.
Yeah, this is the only problem I have with Jayshawn Tate is he 1,000% is playing minutes over somebody who should be playing minutes over him. But other than that, I don't mind.
Do
him.
we think that he's just given a directive to not trade him to the Rockets? Because it feels like he should have gotten traded 3 years ago.
Maybe.
Doesn't it feel like every team probably could talk themselves into him?
Yeah.
For a package of nothing?
It's because the idea is exactly what it is. The cost
Salary
is so
plus
low.
3 second-rounders?
The idea of him is greater than what he actually is, but it's like, he's got the body.
This is like
to do
Kendrick
this.
Williams. The Thunder are never trading Kendrick Williams because he loves playing in Oklahoma City.
And I think he's a great teammate. Kendrick Williams
totally.
is a total pros pro.
Yeah.
My guy Kenny Hustle. All right, where are we going next? Oh, we're not a lot of Grizzlies here, you
This
guys.
could be a quick one.
This is a very quick one. In fact,
Just kidding.
It's so quick that I'm just going to let you guys cook here.
All right, let me see
Desmond
the graphic
Bane.
here.
the guys make a lot of money. So first of all, Desmond Bane makes an enormous amount of money. He's making $35 million a year for the next several years.
What?
So
MPJ
unless you're
makes a
trading
lot of
Jabal
money.
Murray for Desmond Bane, which is like no.
I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. But just roster envy in a blank statement. Yes, Desmond Bane forever. But I understand he's hard to get.
All right, let's see here. Jake LaRavia, one of the cleanest shots I've ever seen in a pre-draft workout.
Didn't I tell you that guy allegedly is like a real jerk?
I don't think you've told me that, no. Allegedly.
Allegedly.
Yeah, allegedly. Man, interesting.
There's a lot less here than I feel like.
Dude, I'm telling you, this is how I felt. They're all on giant contracts. When I was going through it, I was like, huh.
Trey Jamison,
G.G.
still
Jackson,
don't
sure.
believe that
G.G.
guy's a
Jackson.
real player.
John Conchar.
Like, actually a real person.
Okay.
Utah Watanabe, pretty sure he's in Japan next season. Brandon Clark, if he was healthy, is an interesting guy that could fit into the Nuggets bench rotation. Kind of in the Tari Eason mode of just a hustler, athletic guy with a high motor.
He's just already in the 12 mil range. So he's already making a ton of money. Maybe you take a flyer on a guy. I will tell you
Jordan Goodwin on the Grizzlies? Is that our Jordan Goodwin?
I can't get him back, though, man. Leave him where he is. Are you thinking of Brandon Goodwin, actually?
Oh, I am thinking
You're thinking of Brandon Goodwin. There you
Our
go.
Brandon Goodwin.
I am thinking of Brandon
The thing
Goodwin.
about Brandon Clark, though, that I believe, a la Kenneth Fareed, Yoke's going to get the most out of that guy.
Oh,
if Brandon
man.
Clark was here, he
Think
would.
about the alley-oops he'd be catching.
Unbelievable.
Are there any?
Vince Williams Jr.
Actually,
good. They're not
hold
giving
up.
him up, though. He's good.
Hold up a second. We're going to do so. This is so. I hate
Marcus
the offseason.
Smart.
Hold on. I hate the offseason.
I'm just naming guys
Yeah, you
now.
are. Brandon Clark at 12 mil a year. Aaron Gordon's at 20 mil. He's probably going to get another huge contract
I'm sorry.
there.
I'm like delirious.
You are. Is it possible that Brandon Clark is a guy? Like, you have to think about the next iteration. The Nuggets are probably not ready for a full-on next iteration, But if they are, and it doesn't
You could
involve,
talk yourself
is
into
Brandon
him
Clark,
in a
could he be that?
Gordon role.
Yeah,
Kind
he's
of.
like the B version of that,
Yeah.
and
Again,
then
no,
you
it's-
have more money.
The
I think that's
injury is
good.
a big factor. Because it was an Achilles, right? Did I
Yeah,
make
as
that up?
Achilles.
So
For a guy who's jumping is like
kind of
a
matters.
core- a
Kind
core
of matters.
thing.
But yeah, you could talk yourself into it.
Yeah.
Is
Just
any?
a
Is
thought.
any?
I don't know. I just like Brandon Clark.
Does Luke Kennard interest you in any way?
No.
No.
All right, cool. Let's
I don't
move on.
think so.
All right, let's go to the absolute last one, which is the Dallas Mavericks. I'll say it again. I think Luka would be good with Jokic. I don't know. Luka and Jokic has long been rumored. Who knows? Obviously you take that when you get it. We don't have to spend a lot of time on it.
Would.
The crazy one for me is Dante Exum. I
Yeah.
like Dante Exum, and he's the price point is probably right. Although he had a really good year, so you could see him getting like a better contract than a minimum or whatever. But
I mean, Exum, if you talk about just
she was dunked yesterday. That was so out of nowhere.
if you talk about just the size and the ideal skill set for like a backup combo guard in the Bruce Brown role, Exum checks a lot of those boxes. He's tall, 6'6", good defender.
Yes.
Had a really good shooting year as well. Hustler, plays hard, high IQ guy. And, he's proven that he can be trusted for, 10, 15, maybe upwards of 20 minutes off the bench in a playoff setting. So I love Exum. It's been a cool story seeing his revival. Another product of the Serbia feeder system back into the NBA.
That's right.
So Exum would be great on the Nuggets. He'd be great.
Either one of their backup bigs. I mean, kind of different conversations about getting them or affording them respectively.
Yeah, just
but
so expensive.
So again, pipe dreaming there, but just yes. Is their whole backup big? Yes. Do they have two bigs? Yes. I will say really quickly, without trying to destroy the spirit of this segment, the Mavs one is hilarious to me because if we had done this 2 weeks ago, we're taking like 9 of these guys.
You think? I don't.
I think there was like a 3-day period on this show and in our comment section where it was like, how do the Nuggets get more like the Mavs?
Well, because they have depth, and those guys fit the Luka style, but they're not necessarily Nuggets players. In
I'm
my
just
opinion.
saying.
It's just-
I'm just saying. Like, it is funny how quickly perception of role players can change, right?
I still think they have good role players. They're just not good. They're not guys I would want on Denver.
This is my point, though.
Like Derek Lively and Gafford are two of the depth pieces. They clearly don't work.
I'm saying a week ago it was how do the Nuggets get more like the Mavs, and I'm saying let's never have that conversation again.
Thank you.
The Mavs have I'm going to say the Mavs have more depth. They have more guys that played a bigger role, and that's all I'm saying. But again, 2 of their big players are centers, and one of them's a rookie on a rookie contract, which is why it works. The 2 guys I'm curious about from you guys, Derek Jones Jr. and Josh Green. Would they be better in Denver or worse than they are in Dallas? And are they to me, they're so hard to project if they would be good here or suck, because they kind of suck.
I like Derek Jones more than Josh Green.
Josh Green's such a good defender too, though.
Yeah, he's just so limited offensively. Whereas with Derek Jones, yeah, he's limited, but he's the lob threat. He's the weapon in transition. He's the guy who can play the dunker spot. Josh Green's got to, play on the perimeter a little, so that kind of handcuffs you a bit. And if you're just looking at those guys on the Nuggets, yeah, Derek Jones is the guy I'd want.
You like him?
I do. There's so much overlap there, with just sort of a similar dynamic, in my opinion, with Aaron Gordon, and like how he would be guarded in Denver and how he would fit into Denver. Could he
was got on the cheap though? I mean, he probably won't be this next time around, but what's he making there?
Sure, I'm just thinking redundancy of skill sets. But like, if you were thinking about the rebuild, and part of that includes like, okay, it's getting expensive to have Aaron Gordon where he's at. Like, yes, this is a skill set you could slide in there for sure.
He's on a contract for $2.7 million. If you could get him for $2.7 million, he'd be unbelievable. Because then you could play Aaron Gordon at full-time backup center, because you would just replace him in the Jokic minutes, half of his Jokic minutes, with Derek Jones, and you probably get a decent amount of the value.
Another guy I like on the Mavs, Maxi Kleber. He's hurt right now. He's kind of a shell of himself, can't really shoot.
Mavs fans hate him.
A healthy Maxi Kleber, I think, would be a nice pick-and-pop weapon off the bench for Denver.
Yeah.
And then Alex Fudge in season tournament appearance and then finals appearance as well. Just a winner,
Yeah, I mean, real intriguing guy. You could talk yourself into him as a 3-and-D type dude.
Yeah, just a winner. Just a dog.
All right, take our final break. On the other side, let's talk about Doc Rivers. What?
Hell yeah,
if you
dude.
guys want to hit the G League expansion draft with the Suns, we could hit that as well. Just
is that something that just came up?
I've got it here if we need to.
Okay.
And I don't think we have a third break either.
We don't.
Well, we have it. I have to give it for Tiff.
Yeah, you guys are the best.
Are we back? Okay. All right. Final segment here on the DNVR Nuggets podcast. I have a clip to play from the Bill Simmons show today with Doc Rivers. Let's go ahead and play it.
Emmanuel Mudiay went in the expansion draft.
It's funny because I was podcasting with you and Larry. I didn't even realize that Dave was traded 2 or 3 days before training camp. And so Dave was telling me, we were at dinner, and he said, Coach, I didn't work out all summer. It's the first time in my life that I've not worked out. I was so scared of getting injured working out.
Oh, because he was a possible trade. Yeah.
Yeah, he knew he was going to get traded, so he said, I did some light running, I did some shooting with no one in the gym, but I didn't go at all. He said, I'm out of shape.
They can't hear it.
They can't hear it.
All right. Just pull it off, Tiff. I'll just explain it. All right. So what it was a clip with Doc Rivers talking about Dame Lillard was out of shape coming into the season this year. And because he was on the trade block and his agent is telling him, you can't play. So he wasn't working out to make sure he didn't get injured. He gets traded 3 days before the season begins. And Doc Rivers says, if you come into camp not in shape, you can't get into shape during the course of the season. Now, let's get the first layer, because there's a lot of layers to this that I think are funny. Let's get the first layer out. Doc Rivers is the best.
The only thing funnier than he's
the best at I'm throwing somebody under the bus completely, but I'm trying to pretend like I'm not.
Right.
Just to recap, consulted for the team that ended up firing a coach to hire him.
Yeah, he's a consultant.
Told them allegedly during the hiring process, I don't think this makes sense. It's not going to work.
Right, yeah.
They threw a legendary amount of money to him.
Yeah.
He took it, said publicly, I wouldn't wish this on anyone.
Right.
Lost.
What happened then? Oh, okay, then they lost.
And then said, yeah, of course we lost. And then the only thing funnier than that is then he hopped back on a podcast immediately
Which
after.
podcast? A small one?
No, the Bill Simmons
The
podcast.
biggest sports podcast in the world?
Doc Rivers, I tip my cap to you. You are the best.
He definitely does not want to be coaching the Bucks.
No, he wants nothing to do with it. He told us all year they were going to lose.
Yeah.
Then
He
they
definitely
lost.
does not. He'd definitely rather be doing a podcast every week.
It's like, he's like, they gave me too much money.
There's nothing funnier. Michael Malone has a lot of this in him as well. All these there's a type of coach, they have it in him. They have a lot of this of like, I just need to get the message through that it's not my fault, you guys. Like, you have to know, like,
Doc's
Dame,
the best.
You guys know how important Dame is? He wasn't in shape this year, you guys. He wasn't in shape, but it is pretty
He
funny.
told me that over dinner.
Now,
I
here's
wouldn't wish this on anyone.
now the reason I wanted to bring this up. Obviously, we're talking about in shape a lot of this type of stuff, but something you said earlier, we were talking about earlier, is so important, and it's important here. As much as Doc is doing that thing, I do think there is something to the ability to call a player out. This is both a thing of fans and media, and it's also a thing of organizations. And one thing I've learned from being in media for 10 years, one, it's changed quite a bit. But one of the things is that there's a real pushback to criticisms of players that I find to be like fascinating. We criticize coaches. We criticize owners. Talk about owners. You can't say a nice thing about an owner. People get so upset about it.
Right.
But a criticism of a player, like if a coach calls him out or if a media person calls him out, 20 mentions that are just like, you're being so unfair to this guy, this, that. And I just look at it and I go, I don't know, man, it's sports. It's actually about you either win or don't, and that's what these guys are judged by.
Well, we're going to get into how this can relate to Jamal Murray and stuff, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But it was so interesting how the whole season, we were talking about how Jamal Murray wasn't in shape.
Because this was a storyline that was being discussed all year. Like this was something that was very present at Ball Arena.
Right. Behind the scenes, these are the chats we were having. And then it got, there was some public stuff here and there, but nothing really crazy. And like people hated us for discussing it.
Like we had insulted a vulnerable, person unfairly or something. You're like, it's sports. We're talking about performance.
People got on us for talking about Jamal Murray being out of shape when, it was something that people with the team were talking about all season and talking to us about. And then after the season, Calvin Booth and Michael Malone talk about how Jamal Murray was out of shape.
Right.
And then everybody goes, okay, he was out of shape. Let's talk about it.
Right. And I understand it. I understand that a little bit. Like it is validating when the coach comes out and says it or whatever. But you in particular got beat up for a criticism.
Me? Me?
But I'm just saying, like, there's something to the criticism was, oh, you're picking on him because he never made an All-Star, this, that, and we don't have to litigate that exact thing. But I'm saying, like, there is fair criticism of, hey, man, when we talk about Jokic gone the longest of a Finals MVP without playing alongside another star, we all picked him to be an All-Star this year and stuff like that. And it's not just him. I don't want to just make this Murray punch bag. I'm just saying with athletes, it's weird. Like, criticism is fine.
Part of the point, it kind of came up earlier in the show, is they won their title, which is unbelievable, but the job isn't done. So there, I thought there were some lessons to learn for everyone, but particularly Jamal. Like, the standard should be All-Star, by the way, because he's good enough and more than good enough. So, yeah, I think that's definitely the case. A little bit of a player empowerment era, I think it arose during this time.
Oh, totally.
Where player empowerment, I think, was conflated with a lot of different things, which is, maybe having some more agency and free agency isn't quite the same thing as being immune to criticism. Having said that, Murray heard plenty of it. He got plenty of it this postseason from us, from other outlets, and I think for the first time from a lot of the fans, too. And then to the point of the rest
fans love Jamal, by the way. This is the thing, is like fans can be fickle in what they say or this or that, but there is going to be a thing where like, dude, Jamal is still a lot of people's favorite player.
And should be for the, like, it delivered the title, right? But I think the noise got really loud, like so loud for the first time, and I think he probably heard it. And then to the earlier conversation we were having, while they weren't exactly jabs on Bill Simmons' podcast, Cal and Malone said it on record at the exit interview this time. And I think we reached a point with Jamal where it's not just okay for him to hear it, it's probably what he needs to hear if he in fact has the stated goals that we've heard. And it's okay to say that.
I think James Harden is the best example of this because people are really critical of James Harden.
Sure.
And it's like, is James Harden one of the greatest singular offensive engines in NBA history? In my opinion, no question about it. A la Luka Doncic, like it's there. But in giving him that status, then you say, well, then you should win. If you're that good, you should have this level of success. And, sometimes the ball didn't bounce your way. But when you look at a guy like Harden, he had a big enough window that he should have had even more success. And people were very comfortable criticizing him, I think, because he's so unlikable. He said, I honestly think so. But it's the truth of all these athletes, man. Like, I always say this. The Nuggets never win another title. And they play, this core plays together for 6-7 years. I'll criticize them through all of them. And then when it's all said and done, it'll be like, that was awesome. That was a great era and we lived through it. But when you compete at something, the goal is the goal. And that's the lens that you should be viewed through. So for me, it's one thing I think about a lot is how, and it's not just here, our buddy Christian Clark, he wrote a scathing piece on Zion Williamson right after the in-season tournament. And I know that Pelicans weren't happy about it. Zion was furious about it. It was a lot of blowback. Like, it takes a level of bravery, honestly, for a media member to go that hard on a superstar with that much play. But you know what happened? The tide turned so hard that Zion's like, I should probably get in shape. And I just think that is an element of this ecosystem that we call professional sports of, you know what? Sometimes the criticism is good. And one thing Doc Rivers said to his defense was, Dame's texting him every day now saying, I'm doing 2-a-days, I'm at the gym, I'm working hard. And his point was, this is how hard it is to win a title. Dame's season for next year has already begun, and this season isn't even over yet.
Right.
That's how hard it is.
And now Doc Rivers can take credit for Damian Lillard having a career year.
Hell yeah.
And I think
That's how you do it, baby.
there's an important difference.
Masterclass from Doc Rivers, to be honest. Like this is
He's gonna get a
executed
raise.
perfectly.
Yeah, exactly.
He
Yeah.
probably could parlay this into a race.
you guys-
I actually love him. I love him.
I actually do too.
He's like
That's
an
the
important
thing.
character
Dude,
in the
characters
NBA
are so
universe.
great. Have you seen the clip of that HBO show, the Clippers, or
Of
whatever
course,
it is?
yeah.
Where he's like making fun of
I
somebody
think he probably
for
didn't
getting
do that.
divorced.
Yeah.
Probably did it.
That was a great clip. I tried watching that show. The worst
It's already
show
out?
I've ever watched in my life.
It's no Shogun then.
I want to.
That is the worst show ever.
It's really bad. It's already
Clippers
out? I didn't
Yeah,
know it was
the
out
first
already.
half of it is out. It's terrible.
I do think.
I'm
by
not
the
that
way,
interested in that story. Sorry.
No,
Let me
you're
hear it.
good. I'm trying to have a serious conversation in the last 60 seconds of the show. That's on me. But I think there's a difference between what you described in the ecosystem and then just sometimes it gets confused with I have to be the hammer and the law and I got to puff my chest out as a media member.
I love this.
Just
I
to
love
do
this.
it.
Yeah.
Just to do it. And again, that's very similar to being overly protective of a play. Like there's just a time and place. And I think it can seem like piling on and bullying and sad stuff at times, but I think we reached a point where this is something that it probably seems like Murray needs to hear.
Right.
And that's different than just I need to be heard
Right.
and I'm going to puff my chest out and get real loud as a media member.
There's totally different types of criticism.
Do different things.
One thing I think you're getting at here is authenticity, and we all know the people in every town. There's the heel, the radio heel, the newspaper heel, whoever it is, who just writes the negative. This is going to be bad.
Who just 3 times a year writes about Michael Porter getting traded.
Yeah,
Right.
it maybe has a source there that is influenced. But here's my point: people I've talked about this before. I've become friends with Spike Eskin through media. I love the guy, and I know people will say he's a troll. You know what he is? So good at crafting narratives in a way that I find creative. The guys that suck at it, it's like a magic trick where you can see the card up the sleeve and
Sure.
you're like, this is so lame. And that's what I think the worst takesmen are, the ones where you're like, you don't believe this. Skip Bayless is this to me, where you're like, dude, this is so fake. Like, what? You don't even have a take. You're just playing a bit.
Right.
It's like a magic trick when the guy, you're like, I can see the string. Come on, man.
Right. So only listen to criticism from us.
Because
Because
We're
we
the
know what
only
we're
ones
talking
who get
about.
That's exactly right. Hit that outro music. Do we have a couple super chats?
Let's hit it. Ulysses Ventura, sign a Jokic brother as a backup center. What happened to Ishmael Kamagate?
He got traded.
He wasn't good and then got traded for cash.
Cash. That's right. He did get traded.
Cold hard cash.
That's so interesting.
Hey,
There was a time when people thought he was going to be the backup center. People were sure of it.
Pour one out for Kamagate.
it's probably going to happen again this summer league. Like, just so
Peter
you know,
Corneli?
there's
Where's
going to
he?
be
Do we
some
have his
guy
right
that we
still?
hear is playing well.
Dude, have you seen the season he put up in the second division in France?
Second division.
Have you seen?
And was he really? Heads are turning. All right,
People
everybody,
are
thanks for
talking
hanging out with
about
us
it.
on a Thursday. We're back tomorrow with Casual Friday. Very excited for our topic tomorrow. We'll see you then.
We all silly like the mayor.